In this video, we are going to be covering converting between fractions, decimals and percentages. This is in the Key Stage 3 syllabus, but is also in the GCSE syllabus as well. So the first thing we need to look at is there are some percentages, fractions and decimals that you may recognise, so equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages. So the first one is a half, which as a decimal is 0.5. and as a percentage, it's 50%. The next fraction, a quarter, which as a decimal is 0.25, and as a percentage is 25%. Third one, 3/4, which is 0.75 as a decimal, and 75% as a percentage. 1/10 is the next one, which as a decimal is 0.1, and as a percentage is 10%. And finally, 1/5 is 0.2 as a decimal and 20% as a percentage. Now, if you don't remember any of these, it's not an issue because the next slide will show you how to find a decimal equivalent of a fraction. So how to convert a fraction to a decimal if you're not sure what the decimal is. Simply divide the numerator, so the top of the fraction, by the denominator, which is the bottom. So an example, convert the following fraction to a decimal. So we have 3/8. So you need to draw in your bus stop first. The 3 goes on the inside, so the numerator goes on the inside, and the 8 goes on the outside. I'm also going to put a few 0.00s because I'm going to get some remainders. And the other thing I'm going to do is, because I'm dividing by 8, I'm going to put the 8 times table down the side just to help me. So 8 into 3 goes 0 times. And I get a remainder of 3 with that because 8 times 0 is 0. I wanted 3. So I'm going to put my remainder in. Then 8 into 30, if I go down my 8 times table, 8 times 3 is close to 30, it's 24. So I'm going to put my 3 in, and my remainder from 24 to 30 is 6. So I'm going to put in a remainder of 6. And then I go again. 8 into 60, if I go down my 8 times table, it stops me at 56. So 8 times 7 makes 56, so I'm going to put my 7 in. And 56 to 60 gives me a remainder of 4. So I'm going to put my 4 in as a remainder. And then I go again. 8 into 40 goes 5 times exactly. So there's no remainders. So I just place a 5 at the top, and that's my final decimal, 0.375. And sometimes you may get decimals that keep going, but the question or the exam will tell you what to round to. Next, we're going to convert decimals to percentages. So to change a decimal to a percentage, you simply multiply the decimal by 100. So for example, write 0.28 as a percentage. Well, just simply times that by 100, so it's 28%. But what if you were going backwards? So we just figured out how to go from decimals to percentage. But what about percentages back to decimals? Well, if decimals to percentage was times by 100, percentages to decimals is just divide by 100. So for example, write 32% as a decimal. Well, 32 divided by 100 gives you 0.32, and that's my decimal. Next, percentages to fractions. Now all percentages are out of 100. So 28% as a fraction, for example. If you think about it, if all percentages are out of 100, I could just write 28% as 28 out of 100. But that fraction, 28 out of 100, can be simplified. And by simplifying it, you can either divide it by 2 or divide it by a bigger number. In this case, it can be divided by 4. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 4 to simplify it. So my final answer is going to be 7 over 25. So you should always, where possible, simplify your answer. Decimal to fraction, well, you don't want to go directly from decimal to a fraction, so actually convert the decimal to a percentage first by timesing it by 100, and then convert that to a fraction by putting it over 100 and simplifying. And that's it.